And when you take these things away, it's going to make not only you a better leader, but it's going to improve literally every relationship in your life. One of my core values is personal responsibility. Gossip, very, very destructive. Talk about the absent as if they're present. Nobody takes away your peace. You give it away because you can be a better leader, and you can be a better leader that leads with love when you get rid of these 5 crazy habits. Welcome to the Leadership and Love podcast. We will cover leadership, mindset, personal development, and sales and marketing. You will experience thought-provoking conversations with both nationally and internationally recognized leaders. Our goal is to inspire you and deliver actionable items that you can implement that are going to help you accelerate your growth. Get ready to discover the magic and the power when you lead with love. This is the first episode for the month, and so I get to do this solo, and I'm really excited because this is going to be about what you can take away. So often when we talk about leadership, personal development, sales, marketing, or mindset, we talk about what we want to add, something that we want to put into it. And what I want to talk about today is some things that I think are very, very important to remove, to take away. And when you take these things away, it's going to make not only you a better leader, but it's going to improve literally every relationship in your life. What happened recently was somebody came into my office and they were talking about how they wish that one of their children was with them, because in my office I have my jar where this is my jar, but it says no blaming, no complaining, no excuses. And if I catch myself doing that, then I put money in here. And so those are some of the things, 3 of the 5 things I want to talk about today that you can remove or stop doing as a leader that's going to exponentially increase your results. So let's start at the top with complaining. You know, there's something that I think is very profound about complaining. We only complain about the things that we have the power to change. I want to repeat that. We only complain about the things that we have the power to change. Have you ever watched a little old man walking down the street? He's all bent over and he's all pissed off and upset over gravity? You don't, because gravity just is. It's doing what it's doing. And so we don't complain about gravity. As a matter of fact, what we did with gravity was we use it to our advantage, because every sport that you can think of takes advantage of the fact that gravity is just the way life is here on planet Earth. Basketball, baseball, football, hockey, the list goes on. All those sports rely on gravity. They rely on the ball or the puck or whatever it is coming back down to earth. Now, when we talk about complaining, 1, it never does anything positive, and that's no way to lead. But also, most importantly, one of the things that happens when we complain is often we're complaining to the wrong person. Have you heard somebody at work and they're constantly complaining about their kids, their wife, their spouse, their husband, whoever it may be? And then I can almost guarantee you that when you go to their house, they're complaining about their boss, their co-workers, the vendors, whoever it may be. So I'd like to share a couple things and a couple ways to eliminate complaining. 1 is understand that if you're complaining about something, you have the power to change it. If you didn't have the power to change it, you wouldn't be complaining about it. Again, my example of gravity. The other thing is if it's an issue or a challenge you're having with a person, then go directly to that person. If you go to work and complain about your spouse, nobody at work can do anything about your spouse. And vice versa, if you go home and complain about your boss or your coworkers or your employees, nobody at home can fix that. So go directly to the person that you have a challenge with that needs to be resolved and give them that. I also want to talk about something that just came up. I was consulting one of my clients the other day, and she said, I know I've hired this client on. She's also a consultant. I've hired this consultant on, or this client on, and I know she's going to be a problem client. And so I challenged her to change the word or eliminate the word problem and use either challenge or issue. Because when we have a problem, the brain locks up. The brain has a tendency to freeze. Remember that Houston, we have a problem, Apollo 13? I can tell you, nobody back there at the Space Center had a warm, fuzzy feeling when they heard that radio call, Houston, we have a problem. So use challenge or issue. And that's going to be helpful around this complaining thing, because again, it's only going to be a challenge or an issue that needs to be resolved. You have the power to resolve it. Second thing I want to talk about that I'd like you to work on eliminating is blaming. We all want to blame everybody and everything and live in the victim mentality. Remember that you could blame everybody for everything and anything, and we all know people that do, or you could take personal responsibility. One of my core values is personal responsibility. If something's not working, I take personal responsibility and get busy remedying whatever the challenge or the issue is. So who or what are you blaming in your life? It's the old story of the two salesmen, right? They wake up and it's raining. And one salesman says, you know, I can't make any sales today, it's raining, I'm going to stay home. And the other salesman says, you know what, I'm going to go knock on those doors today because everybody's going to be home because it's raining. You can blame the weather, you can blame the government, you can blame the president, you can blame whoever, your spouse, your children, your coworkers, your job, where you live. You have the power to change all that. You have the power to change everything. Literally, you don't like the government, go move to a different country. You have the power to change all of that. You have the power to stay with your spouse or leave them. You have the power to do something, help your children get discipline or coaching or whatever they may need. You have the power to effect change on all of that. But blaming other people is never going to get you to what you want to accomplish, and it's certainly not going to be an action that makes you a great leader or somebody that's a leader with love. Next thing I want to talk about is gossip. Gossip, very, very destructive. Very destructive. It's very destructive to you personally because it erodes your own personal self-esteem. It's also very, very powerful because it erodes relationships. If you and I were having a conversation and I'm bad-mouthing or gossiping about somebody that we both know that's not present, and then you see me cross the room and you see me talking to somebody else, wouldn't you wonder if I'm saying something negative about you to that person? That's what gossip does. And gossip also, at some point, will always come back and find you. It's like magic. One of the things my dad used to say is, if you tell the truth, you only have to remember one story. Gossip's got you out there trying to remember a bunch of stories, but it erodes your self-esteem, because if you're gossiping about people, it's going to get back to them, and the people that think they can trust you, it will erode that trust, because if you're bad-mouthing or talking or gossiping about other people or spreading rumors, which is really just another form of gossip, then at that point people aren't going to trust you with information, and they're also going to know that they can't depend on you to be faithful and loyal to that relationship. So here's something that you can do that can help you with your gossip. Talk about the absent as if they're present. I'll repeat that again. Talk about the absent as if they were present. If you and I were having a conversation and I'm talking about somebody else, I would speak about them as if they were in the conversation with us. And at that point, anything I said about them, you could repeat to them, I could repeat to them, and whatever may get back to them is not anything I wouldn't also be comfortable saying to their face. It's a great way to start thinking about gossip. Next thing is excuses. One of the things that we do often is we want to use excuses. We'll use an excuse that it's too early to get up in the morning to meditate or work out, or I had to work late, so now I'm not going to exercise, or I'm not going to spend quality time with my spouse and my children. We can find 1,000,001 excuses why we're not going to do something, or why something didn't work, or why we're not going to hold ourselves accountable. But when you make excuses, again, what you're doing is you're eroding your own self-confidence and your self-esteem. If you've made a commitment to yourself to exercise and work out, and you come up with some excuse tonight why you're not going to do it, or tomorrow morning why you're not going to do it, then your brain starts to think the next time you say, hey, you know, we're going to make sure we save money this week, your brain's going to kind of laugh at you in the background in your subconscious mind and say, yeah, whatever, we've heard all this before, and we're not going to take it seriously. So as you build your own self-confidence by not using excuses. And excuses is going to lead me right into justifications. Justifications is really wanting to throw that excuse on somebody else. So you justify being angry because somebody cut you off in traffic. You justify being mean or rude because the person on that, I have this challenge all the time. The person on that call center doesn't speak English and it's hard to understand them. And then you're going to justify why you think it was okay for you to be rude or mean or short or whatever that may be. And so justification and excuses kind of go hand in hand. But excuses are really stuff that you're giving yourself. When you justify something, you're really wanting to throw that excuse out on somebody else and blame it on them. Now, I want to give you what I think is one of the most powerful formulas I've ever run across, and I'd like to thank Jack Canfield. I'd like to thank Jack Canfield. He's the person that gave me this. And this formula is E plus R equals O. And that stands for the event plus the response equals your outcome. I want to repeat that. The event plus your response equals the outcome. So, example I use when I do speaking is I'll pick somebody in the audience and I'll say, if I give them $1,000 and they go out partying tonight with all their friends and wake up tomorrow hungover, the event was I gave them $1,000. Their response was to go out partying, and the outcome is they wake up hungover and the $1,000 is gone. Exactly the same event. I give somebody $1,000. They call their investment advisor and say, I'd like to buy $1,000 in mutual funds. Tomorrow they wake up and their net worth or their value went up $1,000, which is the $1,000 that I gave them. The event was the same. I gave them $1,000. Their response to that event changed the outcome. This is why personal responsibility is so important. And you can build your personal responsibility muscle by getting rid of complaining, blaming, gossip, excuses, and justifications. So now let's go back to the formula again for a minute. I also use the example when I speak. Usually I'll pick a female, and I pick a female on purpose because my joke doesn't work as good with a guy. But I'll tell a female audience member, you know, I've been all over the world, spoken to thousands and thousands of people. You have to be one of the dumbest people I've ever met. And then I'll say to the audience, and I'll get that woman's name, and so in this case I'll just use Mary, and I'll say, Mary, I've been all over the world. You have to be one of the dumbest people I've ever met. And then I'll say to the audience, Mary could say to herself, oh my God, Louie doesn't even know me. How did he figure it out so fast? And I get a laugh out of the audience. And then I'll say the same thing. I'll say, Mary, you know, I coach, I speak, I do all these things. I've been around the world, literally. You have to be one of the dumbest people I've ever crossed paths with. And then I'll tell the audience, and Mary could say to herself, well, Louie doesn't know me that well. I'm happily married, and I've got a great job, and things are going pretty good. So at a minimum there, her self-esteem is going to stay the same. In that first conversation she had with herself, her self-esteem would have gone down. And then I'll say it a third time. I'll say, Mary, you know, I've been all over, know lots of people. You have to be one of the dumbest people I ever crossed paths with. And then Mary could say to herself, you know, of all the people in the room, Louie picked me. I think Louie's flirting with me. I think Louie has something for me. I think Louie likes me. What's her self-esteem? Now I get a laugh out of that too. What's her self-esteem going to do? Her self-esteem is going to go up. But here's what I want you to understand. It doesn't matter what Louie says to Mary. What matters is what Mary says to Mary when Louie's done talking. I want to repeat that one too because it's a keeper. It doesn't matter what Louie says to Mary. What matters is what Mary says to Mary when Louie's done talking. And I want you to understand the world's just busy doing whatever the world is doing. Nobody takes away your peace. You give it away. So if I tell Mary that she's the dumbest person I met, if she goes off the deep end, that's her reaction. If I said she's the most beautiful woman I've ever seen, she's also can now hold her self-esteem based on what the world is telling her. And then when the world tells her she's not pretty or beautiful, then that's going to fall apart again. But the world and people are just busy doing what they're doing. Your reaction to it either keeps your peace or loses your peace, keeps your integrity or you lose your integrity. And now I want to go back to our formula again. E plus R equals O. In this, you want to understand that our power is in the plus sign. Event plus your response equals the outcome, changes the outcome. The event happens. Your power is in taking at least one breath, and that's all you need, one breath from the time this event happens until you respond. So if somebody cuts you off in traffic, instead of honking your horn, flipping them off, swearing at the windshield, take one breath and then decide who you want to be. And the power of this is before the event happens, you want to figure out who do you want to be. Do you want to be kind, patient, compassionate, empathetic, understanding, caring, listening, loving? Whatever you want to be, decide that before the proverbial stuff hits the fan. And the same thing now, I want to go back to these 5 things that I want you to work on and bring into your awareness. Just start with them. I did a great interview that's coming up in the next couple of weeks with a lady named Lori Ellis. And one of the things I said in that interview was, when you have awareness, you're 65% of the way home. So just start becoming aware of the times when you're complaining, blaming, gossiping, excusing something, using excuses or justifications. Just become aware of it. And then I want you to understand that those are all just an opportunity, and your response to whatever happened is blaming. Your response to what happened is an excuse. Your response to what happened is gossiping, justifications, complaining, whatever all those are. Whatever the event, you have the choice to choose something differently. So these are 5 things I'd like you to focus on, to work on eliminating. Not adding to these things, but eliminating. And just pick one. It could be complaining, it could be you're making excuses, it could be gossiping, but just pick one. And for the next week until you listen to the next episode, or for the next 30 days, just focus your awareness and be aware every time you start to talk about somebody and say something negative or something that you're not even sure is true about them. And stop yourself and think, if I can't say anything nice, and this is that old adage, right? We all heard this when we were growing up. If you can't say anything nice at all, don't say anything. That's really great wisdom. So if you're in a conversation with somebody and you're about to say something negative about somebody, either say something positive to them, about them, or change the subject. And so, again, I love these episodes where I get to kind of be a solo, because these are some things that I've realized and understand in my life that are really game-changing and make a difference. And they will make a difference in yours. And it's not my intention to overwhelm you. It's my intention to bring this into your awareness and take action today. Just start becoming aware of one of the 5. And I would highly recommend, which one do you do the most? I'd start with that one, because that one's going to have the biggest impact the fastest. So if you complain more than the other 4, then work on your complaining. If you gossip more than the other 4, then start with gossip. But take action, because you can be a better leader, and you can be a better leader that leads with love when you get rid of these 5 crazy habits. Thanks, and I look forward to our next episode, and enjoy the week. Thanks again for joining us and listening to this episode of Leadership and Love. I would like to challenge you to ask yourself, what's one thing that you heard today that you can implement immediately to improve your leadership and accelerate your growth? If you've gotten value out of this episode or learned something that you can implement today, we'd ask that you please share it with those that you care about. Our goal is to create more leaders who are leading with love.